Hello, my name is Denis Halandzovskyi. Here is the verified picture of the strike on Russia's Primorsk oil port and why it matters beyond one headline. Overnight on September 12th, Ukraine's security services and drone units targeted the Primorsk terminal on the Gulf of Finland, Russia's largest crude export hub in the west. Official reports say 2 tankers from the so-called Shadow Fleet were hit at berth, fires broke out, and loadings were suspended as emergency crews responded. Primorsk normally handles about 1 million barrels per day of crude, so even a temporary halt matters. Within hours, a knot of tankers held position in the Gulf, waiting for clarity. For Russia, that is not just a scheduling nuisance, it is cash flow on hold and a signal to insurers, financiers, and shippers that the Baltic export route is no longer a low-risk corridor. Before we go deeper, if you find this useful, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your continued help and support. Let's separate facts from noise. This is the first reported strike on the Primorsk terminal since the full-scale invasion began. Local officials confirmed fires and damage consistent with near-peer detonations. Maritime outlets observed idle traffic and a queue building after the suspension. Markets noticed price moves were modest, but traders cited Primorsk and the nearby Kirishi refinery strike as reasons to reassess risk in the Baltic. There is no credible reporting of casualties or a radiological hazard. This is an oil logistics story, not a nuclear one. Finally, the Shadow Fleet detail matters. These are older, lightly insured tankers that often mask ownership, spoof transponders, and shuttle sanctioned cargoes to keep Russian exports flowing. When these ships sit idle because a key terminal is offline, the economics of sanctions evasion deteriorate. Now the strategic logic. Kyiv's long-range campaign goes after logistics that feed Russia's war machine. Refineries, depots, pumping nodes, and export terminals that finance the state and fuel the military. Primorsk sits at the center of that system. Every day it moves volumes that translate into budget revenue, hard currency, and feedstock for refineries. Knocking it offline, even for days, forces rerouting to Ust-Luga or to Black Sea ports like Novorossiysk, lengthening voyages, tightening shipping availability, and raising costs. It also complicates Russia's attempt to hide barrels in opaque trades, because delays create longer AIS tracks, more satellite evidence, and more room for insurers and regulators to intervene. That is why a single well-timed strike can ripple through schedules, cash flows, and enforcement in ways that outlast the fire on the day. Here is what this means next for Ukraine, for European security, and for the oil market, and how to read the signals without the noise. Start with operations. If Primorsk loadings pause for days, Russia must juggle cargoes to Ust-Luga or Black Sea routes via Novorossiysk. Those alternatives are narrower straws, berth slots, weather, and longer voyages limit how much can shift quickly. For the Shadow Fleet, delays compound costs. Idle time burns cash, high-risk insurance gets pricier, and charterers begin to question if older, lightly insured vessels are worth the exposure. Regulators and insurers can use the pause to tighten audits on ownership, safety, and sanctions compliance, especially for ships with suspicious AIS histories. Second, enforcement. Expect more naming of specific hulls, managers, and service providers tied to evasive trades, paired with port denials and insurance cancellations. Coordinated messages from Brussels, London, and Washington can convert the disruption into leverage. Clearer rules on ship-to-ship transfers, higher penalties for false paperwork, and faster freezes for payments routed through fronts. The result is cumulative friction that reduces Russia's netbacks and slows the flow of money into drones, missiles, and recruitment bonuses. Third, risk and markets. A 1 to 2% move in Brent is not a shock. It is the market pricing higher transit risk in the Baltic. Watch the Urals discount to Brent, tanker congestion on AIS trackers, and refinery run rates in northwest Russia after the Kirishi strike. If those widen and slow, pressure is real. If they snap back quickly, Moscow found a patch, but at a cost it will pay again as strikes continue. Fourth, escalation management. Russia will cry terror and float narratives about stray drones or innocent targets. The correct response is steady. Document dates and locations. Publish debris photos and satellite shots, and keep official messaging factual and calm. That denies ambiguity, reassures neighbors, and keeps the focus where it belongs, on Russia's aggression and reducing its capacity to wage war. Finally, what to watch in the coming days. 1. satellite imagery of the Primorsk basin and anchorage to confirm which berths and pumping lines are offline. 2. Port circulars that clarify when loadings resume and under what restrictions. 3. Changes in patrol patterns by Finnish, Estonian, and NATO maritime assets that indicate a security posture shift. Bottom line, a single port strike can shape weeks of exports and months of insurance behavior. Supporting Ukraine's ability to hold this pressure, while allies tighten enforcement, reduces the resources Russia can throw at the war and lowers risk for the Baltic region. Please subscribe and like to help more people find clear, verified updates. And thank you to all of Ukraine's partners for your continued help and support.